Hi everybody, my name is Mohsin. I'm a denim designer, and I'm quite excited to do this talk because it's going to be a kind of a glimpse into another book that I've been working on, and it's going to hopefully come out in April. That's going to be quite fun. There's a book on the desk there that you can look at, the book that I got released in April with my first archive. I've got an archive of more than 3,000 vintage garments, which is quite amazing. And the first book actually features only 200 of those garments. But today's talk is not about my archive, it's about historical denim and workwear patents. I thought it was quite a fun subject. No one's ever written a book about it, so I said, why not? I can have a go at doing it myself. So here we go. So you've just met me. So I'm like Mohsin, denim designer. Been working close to 23, 24 years for the denim industry. Worked for loads of clients, loads of denim mills, loads of brands. And yeah, me and my wife keep ourselves very, very busy. Yeah, my wife is there. She's one half of the company, but she should be everywhere really in this picture. But yeah, I get a lot of the credit, which is quite sad. But no, I'm also an educator, so I teach at the Royal College of Art, Kingston, Ravensbourne, all the major denim projects. In the last 20 years now, 20 years, I've taught at maybe nearly 30 different universities. So any big denim project, most of the time I'm involved with it, especially the ones like in the UK, and St. Martin's one and Kingston are my favourite ones that I'm doing. Anyway, so I've got a book coming out in April, so we're going to have lots of sneak peeks of what I've been researching. And if any of you don't know, everything, okay, our American friends, they patent everything. So what I mean by that is, if there's a rivet patent, if there's a patent for a new construction, if there's a patent for a new way of weaving, they will patent it. And we know so much information, literally from the last 100 years, because everything is patented. Before that period, not many things were, so we don't know much about some of these things that were invented. So my book's going to cover a lot of, this is probably only like 20-30% of what I'm showing is in the book. Okay, here we go. So it does start with the actual rivet. So our story starts there, and in 1872, 1873, Jacob Davis and Levi Strauss put forward the actual the rivet patent, which was really fun. But basically, so what we know so much about the rivet because of the patent. We know exactly the date. It's May like 20th when it was actually granted in 1873, and also it's on the back of the rivet as well, which is quite amazing. So you know. Some patents are not on the actual things themselves, but in this example, it actually is. And they're the two chaps. It was actually Jacob Davis's idea, and he went to Levi Strauss to get the actual fabric. So Levi's didn't come up with it. It was Jacob Davis. There you go. And there's the actual patent there, which is quite fun. And the whole patent is literally only about the points of strain. That's what it's about, and that's quite cool. And there's an example of it as well. And then the very first garment that they made, the jean or the overall as they called it, it wasn't a blue garment, it was a duck canvas. Soon after, very soon after, they used indigo as well. So the very first jean or overall was actually a duck canvas. That's quite important to know. And here's me in the Levi's archive actually looking at the earliest example that Levi's actually have. And I've got another book coming out, probably later this year or early next year, about like construction. About construction methods of all the major brands, and going back historically about how they used to do their waistband inserts from their bearers, all the different construction methods. So for a geeky designer who's into construction, it's going to be quite a great book. And here's the back of that first overall as well. If you notice, no belt loops, one back pocket, single needle like tailored, so not many twin needle stitchings anywhere. Even around the yoke is all single needle, and the inside of it would actually have been raw. There was no overlocking yet. So either. There we go. And there's me measuring it for my future book, which is going to be quite exciting. So yeah, you can get lots of these examples still, but now people know what they've got. So you can often buy a jean like this, but it's like $100,000, $250,000, $1 million. Honestly, it's insane. So I've got bits like this, but only like little pockets and little things, but they still cost a lot of money. So, you know, if you ever come across a really old jean like this, you're doing really well. So yeah, there you go. And then these garments, they were made for a purpose. They were made for miners. They weren't a fashion garment yet. They were mining garments. They were made for a purpose. Even the shape of the pocket was the shape of the tools that the miners were actually like wearing, which is quite fun. First fun little story. So Levi's themselves, you know, we love Levi's. often you find that a lot of people who claim to have come up with a concept, they might have got influenced by something else. Here's a clear example of it. Levi's are very strong about their tug of war, their two horses pulling apart a pair of jeans, but 7 years earlier, Sweet Or came up with the tug of war concept first. Now, the reason we don't know much about it is Sweet Or no longer exists. And Levi's themselves, when anyone tries to copy their concept or their back pocket patch, they go after them and not sue them. But actually, the tug of war concept was from somewhere else. So it's very interesting. When you dig deep, you often find out a lot of interesting facts about some of these trademarks and like patents. Here we go. And the very first trademark or patent we should talk about is actually the birth of the sewing machine. So this was invented by Singer in 1851. Within 20 years, it was commercialized. So very quickly, from this to the machine that even our friends like Levi's are using. So this is the actual machine. This is the Singer number 2 that Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis used to make that very first jean. We know this because they put out a magazine advert in like July of 1873, only a few months after the patent, and they were looking for female sewers to help them in their first like factory, and they said bring your own sewing machine, and they clearly say either a Singer number 2 or a Grover and Breaker number 1. So with a little bit of research, that's a Singer number 2, which is quite awesome. So yeah, I only know one designer who's actually got one. It's a designer that's based in like New York called Bowery Blue, and he's going back to like Japan soon. So yeah, anyway, it's an amazing machine. It's like treadle type, so you have to use your feet to work it. Quite cool. So another thing is, there's patents also, lots of patents about shuttles. Now, I don't believe I think that's a bit silly. This shuttle patent is from 1872. I've got shuttles from Japan that are from the 1700s. So how can you patent something that's already been existing for so long? Obviously, it's a funny story. This guy claims to have invented the shuttle, but I've got a shuttle that's 200 years earlier. So it's a load of BS, really. What's going on here? It's quite funny. And then this is another cool little patent. Now, when Levi Strauss had the patent for the rivets from 1873 to 1890, no one was allowed to do rivets for this very short period. Actually, some of the best innovation happened in this period. No one talks about it, but it's true, and I'm gonna document it quite a lot, which is quite fun. So this is actually a patent of a really beautiful style from Krauss. It's a company that no longer exists. If you notice, the cinch buckle is grown on to the front. So I actually asked one of my good friends, Ben from Canada, Ben like sort of Vacano, and he basically got inspired by that patent to design his style. So what's fun is, you can still get inspired by lots of historical garments and do it in a modern, without copying them. Without copying it, he got inspired and done his own version of it. And I hired him when I was doing stuff for Qasim, and he did a version for us there too, which is quite fun. So yeah, really, he actually did that one first, and then he did his own. So it's really quite fun. There we go, and here's more of it. And then recently, I did a collection for another denim mill called Indigo, and I also got inspired by the same patent, but I did my own crazy version. But instead of having the cinch back buckle joined on through the front of the front scoop, I had it joining on through the back pocket, and all the belt loops were joined on as well. So it's a bit of a mental version, which I thought was quite fun. A little bit of experimentation. But you can see these early patents, they're so creative, and you don't get that anymore. There's a small amount of designers who are looking at this. I'm telling you, maybe only 2 or 3 in the world that are doing this. So it's quite fun. Like really inspiring looking at this kind of, even like the pocket shapes, the sort of the reinforcements. You know, it's pretty goddamn amazing. It's pretty amazing, really. And the really interesting thing is, which I've just discovered, this garment is from 1880, but the belt loops weren't patented until 1920. So this predates it by 40 years, the belt loop, which is quite fun. There you go. So here's that crazy style that I designed quite a while ago. But it's really fun to be a bit more experimental and not put too much pressure on yourself. And then I look at a lot of garments through research. I have an archive of more than 3,000 garments. So often I'm looking at garments not only for the inspiration, but I'm looking at for the thread color, the shape, also the thread type. Like this particular style, this was when the patent was in full force. They weren't allowed to use rivets. So they were actually securing the pocket inside the waistband and inside the cinch buckle for extra strength. So it's really quite special, really, what's actually going on here. And here it is here. So how this garment was discovered, actually, a good friend of mine, Victor Fredback, was a really good denim archivist, and he's got books out and he's got a film out as well. He is the one that owns this actual style. Only one exists in the whole world, and he owns it. And then our friend, I think it was Britt Eaton, or Mike Torres, I believe, they then decided to get inspired by that style, to reproduce it, to understand it. And only when they reproduced it, they figured out, wow, it's got a 3/16 or 1/8 a twin needle stitch all around it. All these decorative stitches are quite beautiful, but it's functional because of how it's been made without rivets. So again, all these things happened because of the rivet patents. Lots of innovation happened because of that. This is quite a nice style as well. This is something that I designed. I've done 2 of these now. So a friend of mine, I'm gonna jump one slide and go back. A friend of mine, Michael Allen Harris, found this scrap in a mine, okay? A few of us did some research and we figured out quite quickly it comes from this style right here. It's from the Krauss closed-fronted jumper from 1875. So just from that scrap and that patent, I made that style. So historical research, I understood about the types of shirt shapes, pullover shapes they were using in that era. I have other garments like that, so I can understand the collar shape and the width of it. So it's a kind of guessing, but I think I'm nearly there. And we know so much about it because of this little scrap. Because of that scrap, I could work out the stitch per inches, the pocket shape. That pocket shape gave me enough information to make the entire style. And also, these early pullover styles, they would have been zero waist as well. So I knew that as well. So I designed this with a zero waist pattern with no waist as well. So with clever research, you can go back and design these old styles that no longer exist, which is quite fun. There we go. Next patent I want to talk about is the one-piece fly. Now this is quite a lovely detail. You only get it in really premium brands. It was invented by Boss of the Road in 1877, and it's beautiful. The reason why we don't see it in any of this trade show, because it wasn't invented by like Levi's. It was invented by a competitor brand, and that competitor brand disappeared. So this patent died, but now it is owned by Lee and Wrangler, who also do nothing with it. So it's really quite funny. So a bit like tech companies, when they go bust, other people buy their technology. Same thing happened here. But this detail is now public domain, so we can all use it. So it's quite good. I've done salvage versions, non-salvage versions, and also other types of. There's 6 known ways to construct a one-piece fly. I've documented every single one, and it's going to be in my next book. It's going to be quite fun. There we go. Next patent, which is fun, is actually the folder. A lot of garments that are made in this room have been made with a folder attachment. So the first folder attachment that I could find was from 1933. So that means before 1933, everything was most likely single needle. And it's true. Whenever I see any garments, it has drunken stitching. So after that period, everything is now more standardized, which is interesting. This is the war period as well. So everything literally standardized after World War II. So lots of innovation was happening even then to speed up production. That's why these things were invented, to speed up production. There we go. Another brilliant patent is the concealed rivet. This was invented by an amazing employee of Levi's actually. So the story is, Levi's was asked to remove the rivets on their back pocket because it was scratching up chairs and seats, and so they were asked. They said, that's a part of our DNA, rivets. We're not going to lose our rivet. So they got their employee, which is this guy here, Milton Grambon, and he figured out a way of putting the rivets inside the back of the pocket, but in a hidden way. So you insert it in halfway in the pocket construction. Beautiful construction, and in the patent drawing you can actually see how it's sandwiched in. Now, we don't know much about this guy. We do know some information from the patent. So even in the patent it says, yes, I appreciate the bonus, I need it. I'm supporting my mother and father. I can't accept the bonus unless you give the bonus to every girl in the factory as well. So this guy was not only a dude, he was a feminist, which is quite nice to see. So really cool story. No one knows much about him. That picture is the only picture, and I'm the one who found it. So I went through lots of old Levi's catalogs, because on the patent drawing, all I had was M. Grambon. So just from that research and the date, I found this picture, which is quite cool. There we go. Next patent I want to talk about is another machine patent. This is actually one of the most important machines that was invented is called a Union Special 43200G. Now, what the hell is this machine? It basically does a chain stitch on the hem, and it creates a roping effect, which is like a defect, a defective seam. Now, for many years, so from 1940 all the way up to 1987, this machine was in existence. After 1987, they stopped making it. So now, if you make any jeans, you can still put roping in, but this machine does it automatically because it's a defective machine. So anyone who's got a denim shop, or the denim designer, or they've got a specialist shop where they're hemming jeans and customizing jeans, you will most likely find that they have this machine, because you can't have a jean without a chain stitch hem. That's the fact here, and this is the machine to have it. So if anyone says anything, you ask them, is it hemmed with a Union Special? And they go, no, and you go, oh. So but actually, if you go all over Japan, any specialist shop that sells raw denim, salvage denim, most likely they'll have one of these small machines in the corner doing that beautiful roped hem. But this patent is very, very important. Okay, and the next one is obviously another Levi's one. So basically, Levi's up until 1943, they had not registered their back pocket stitch. So many other brands were using it, including our friends at Lee and Wrangler. Funny story. So Lee and Wrangler both started out doing that. And then after 1943, Levi's finally patented their back pocket design. And then Lee stopped using it straight away. Wrangler used it for another year and got sued again by Levi's. So it's quite a funny story. But Levi's are very strong about their back pocket design. And what's amazing about this design is, okay, a good back pocket, and I told my students as well, if you notice the pocket stitching, it's wrong. If you don't notice it and it's blended in, it's perfect. And Levi's got it right straight away, and they know they actually got it right. Many other brands, from Lee to Wrangler to Diesel, they all have a back pocket design imitated by, they literally copied Levi's in some way. So they hit the ground running, which is quite amazing. So that Levi's patent is quite special. In 1943, I believe, yeah, is when it was actually registered. There you go. And another cool patent. Now, every single garment that all the main historical garments have been patented. But the one that I could find that was interesting for this talk was the Storm Rider jacket by Lee. Now, this is quite an important style. Most denim heads, I think Walter's somewhere in the room, they love, if you're a Levi's, Lee or Wrangler guy, if you're a Lee guy, this is the jacket that you wear. But the interesting story is about this jacket, it was Levi's themselves were inspired by it, and they made their Type 3 jacket after this jacket. So many people think Levi's did it first. They didn't do it first here. They were inspired by a competitor brand to make their own jacket. So it's a very, very interesting story. And then more interesting patents as well. So this is quite cool. So the overall was one of the first garments that we know about. And this is where actually the funny thing is, the yoke itself, the yoke of the garment, comes from the overall. When they were cutting off the bibs, they had a tiny bit of the yoke left over. So you can historically figure out where the yoke actually came from. It came from, inspired by an overall that was cut. But this particular patent is interesting because this patent is all about the bib pocket. So this patent, it was actually patented so no one else could do it. So I think I've got a style which is close to, it was a Lee patent. I think it was a Lee patent. So it's quite fun to see. And also the same person that patented that pocket, a few years earlier, patented the buckle for the overalls as well. So it's amazing that the same people who are innovating the fit and the pocket shapes are inventing also the buttons and rivets that go with the styles. The same person that actually patented it, which is quite fun. And then a patent that we all should know, and it's a very famous one from our generation, is the Twisted jean from 1999. So this is quite fun. So this is actually one of the styles. I've got this in my archive. I've got a few versions of it. I've got a tensile version and a hemp version. But the patent actually patents the shape of that pattern. So no one else can copy the shape of the fit. It's actually in the patents. And many people have copied it, and Levi's go after them, even now. You have to be very careful. You can't copy that Levi's fit. In the patent, it's actually got that pattern, which is quite fun. And then also Levi's themselves have patented other things, like they've also patented different ways of skewing patterns, which is quite funny. This is actually a defect of when you buy fabric when it's not sanforized, it automatically skews. And they made a patent out of it to stop other people doing it, which is quite funny. But this is a method to avoid the leg twist. So they got a type of sanforization type of machine, a different one. I haven't read the patents out too much, but it's quite interesting. But yeah, quite fun. And then more patents, you know, every single designer, this is like when you start researching this, you find like 100 patents in like 1 hour. It's so fun. You carry on searching, one patent references 10 more patents, you click one, another 10 more patents. It's like, you know, I did this for only a few days and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Now this is a diesel pocket from 2009. I actually have the style. So it's fun to see the patent drawing referencing that and explaining that the bottom of the pocket originally had no stitching. But the version that I have has stitching, but for sure it is that pocket. So it's quite fun to see the original patent for that. And this is another one. This is my friend Mike Hoddes, you know, a brand called Rising Sun. He also patented a lot of his pocket designs, and he's one of the best designers from, you know, a generation above me. One of the best designers we've got, and his pocket is so inspiring, even from the grain line cutting to the really simplified, you know, stitching to the, you know, to the twin needle, which is a like 3/16. Beautiful. But it's nice to see a patent drawing regarding his pocket. I thought it was quite cool. And then a modern brand that we all know, like All Saints, a British brand, they also patented their back pocket as well. So it's quite nice to see modern brands and quite older brands still following this method to actually protect what they've actually got. And something that's actually on the actual show floor here. So we've got a friend like sort of Emilio over here who's showing off her zero waste jacquard project, but she actually helped one of these students, he's called like Jordan, design his zero waste jean. So to be in all honesty, all of these newer concepts of weaving, should they be patented? I don't know. I'm one of these people that likes to share knowledge. I do a pattern and I give it to my student so they can do more versions of it and learn from it. If we patented this kind of stuff, there'll be no more innovation actually, because we shouldn't be protecting this. It should be all open source so people can learn from it and make it better. So it's a mixed feeling for me when it comes to patents. But this zero waste jacquard concept is very, very special. And here's me looking and experimenting with my own like zero waste. I've done about 7 or 8 different zero waste projects now. This one me and Sadia did with Cone Denim. We basically took 13 of their most sustainable fabrics they've ever like created, and I fit my pattern inside the fabric, and only the yellow is where the waste is. I've done more versions with no yellow, so pretty goddamn amazing. So, you know, should that be patented? No, because I teach it to my students, so I encourage my students to do this and make it better. So I've done about 7 different projects now with students about this concept, where we take an existing garment and an existing fabric and make it zero waste. And the patterns themselves are beautiful. After you figure out the shape, you know, that could be a hang tag or something. It's quite amazing. There we go, and there's the pattern itself. And something that I found out quite recently, this is a patent from 1879 for an overall, and in the patent, they explain even the lay plan of how to lay the pattern on the fabric. It's in the patent. In other words, they protected themselves so no one else could cut it in the same way. So even back then, they were being very careful. Not only can you not copy our garment, you can't even copy the method of how we've done our pattern, which is quite amazing thing, and it's in the patent as well, which is quite fun to see. And then the earliest garment that we know about, the earliest garment that we've ever found on a mummy is a zero waste garment, which is quite amazing. And there's a documentary about it, a German documentary, 45 minutes. You can find it on like YouTube. It's amazing. They explain the whole story of how they found this garment and how they reverse engineered it as well, which is quite fun. And more of that zero waste concept that our friend like Emilio was doing right to my left. But this is actually another really famous designer called Holly McCullen, and she basically done her PhD on this subject, and she's doing jacquard weaving with multiple layers of all indigo, so you can have a garment with the pocket bag, with the bearer, a back panel, front panel, back pocket, reinforcement, all on one panel, woven at the same time. So she did a jean. All you do is you cut that seam and you have access to the pocket. Unbelievable. So is this the future? It could be. Okay, does it look really exciting? It looks good as an art project, but for me, I want to try and achieve a garment that looks like a regular garment. So my task is to try and get that weave pattern to look even closer to a 3x1 right hand twirl. But maybe it remains in this artistic experimental stage. But we're going to try and the next few years try and design stuff that even Levi's or Tesco's or Primark will buy. So that's the key. And there we go. Here's a close-up of what I'm talking about here. Multiple layers at the same time can be woven at the same time, all with jacquard. There we go. There's more close-up again. And there's another one of those pants as well. And we did a talk about this as well. We've done so much historical research on this and giving lots of talks to this is one of Jordan's talks we did, and we did it in collaboration with our friends at Diamond Denim. Now, to do jacquard weaving, you need a jacquard loom. And most of the companies that have jacquard looms are like bedding companies and other things, so they're not really denim companies. But luckily for us, Diamond Denim, which are part of the Sapphire Group, which have 47 factories, happen to have a division that has jacquard looms. So that's why we asked them to help us, which is quite fun. Here we go, there's a close-up of it. There's the pattern as well, which is quite fun to look at. And we also, another student of mine that I taught is a girl called Barbara. She spent an entire year designing trucker jackets in zero waste as well. Now, these pattern pieces, should they be patented? It will be exciting. But again, I think the open source method now, we can't patent things and protect them. We want more people to look at them, explore them, make them better. So I don't believe in protecting things like this now. I believe in more about open source. And then here's another garment that I did, part of that cone denim project. This is a zero waste pant that I actually designed. And it was amazing. We fit the whole pattern on this fabric, which is unbelievable. And then it was an ecru garment, an ecru selvage. And we ended up washing it at like Genealogy as well, which is quite fun. So yeah, really fun. And I even inserted the pocket bags and things like that. Should this be patented? Like someone was telling me, Mohsin, you should protect your patterns. I was like, no, I don't. I want more people to get inspired by it. So I've left it open source for my students to explore. And I've done many projects with London College of Fashion, the Masters Pattern Cutters, to experiment more in this. Like we've done about 3 projects now each year to do zero waste patterns like this. So it's been quite fun. And then I'm one of the first, well, my claim to fame is I'm one of the first denim designers to use laser. So when Levi's first did laser around 2002, I was the monkey that actually did it first. So the funny story is, Levi's Europe and America didn't think it was that good, but our friends in Levi's Japan said it was interesting, and they gave it to me, the company that we were collaborating with. I worked at a company called Okini, so they gave it to Okini, and I was the designer at Okini. So basically, indirectly, I managed to do the first laser pattern for like Levi's, which is quite fun. Now, if you go around this room, every single booth has laser now, but I'm one of the first designers to do it. So that's my claim to fame that no one can take away from me, which is quite fun. And then the future is looking so exciting, where I personally feel within 5 to 10 years time, a lot of this room is going to be printed. The way I say that is, indigo it's you know, the chemical itself is not that great. Yes, there's bacteria indigo, there's other things that are coming through, but actually, if we can print things and we can make archive garments and replicate old garments in a model where we only print what we need, this is certainly a model that is very, very interesting. So I've done a project with Stella Blue. This is Stella Blue, and there's a lot of waste at the moment, but it's all about a good lay plan, as we know. But printed denim, this machine, it's a cool trans machine. It was called the WOW machine that Stella Blue have. It prints fabric on both sides at the same time, which is amazing. So if you could be very, very creative, you can have crazy patterns on one side, and or you can have a regular denim as well. So it's all about a good graphic designer and a good photographer. Basically, it's a Photoshop job, really. And so yeah, so this is only like 5% of what my book is, but this is the book that's coming out in April. It's about workwear patents. Quite fun. And then me and my wife actually have got a number of books coming out in the next 2 years. Our friend Angela has actually written an article about our publishing hopes. So we've got about 8 books that we're publishing in the next 2 years. Everything from patent design, archives, garment design, pattern cutting, branding. It's quite a lot of work, but we're quite excited about it because all my students, they always ask me, Mohsin, what's a good book on branding? What's a good book on denim pattern cutting? What's a good research book? And most of the time, I haven't got an answer for them because they don't exist. And if they do exist, it's some Japanese book that was printed 20 years ago that's 500 euros. It's not accessible. So actually, we should do it. So that's what we're going to do. But the most exciting book that I'm more excited about is my step-by-step making book. So I'm doing one about 5 pocket jeans, and one about trucker jackets. So I'm doing a series of books on construction, a step-by-step guide, which is going to be quite fun. And that's it. You've all passed my class today. So thank you so much. And yeah, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I've got many different Instagrams: Denim History, Mohsin Sajid, ENDRIME, and ENDRIME Studio. Thank you to Sebastian and Claudia for allowing me to do this talk, and thank you for letting me come here. And yeah, that's it really. So all the best to you guys, and see you next time. Thank you.